Hi, I'm Jaclyn Kim, and today I'm going to be talking about the different parts of the violin. So, the biggest part of the violin is called the body. This is the body right here. And this is the shoulder, this is the back, this is the front. And then down here we have the bridge, the fingerboard, this black part, that's where we put our fingers down. We have 4 strings. Our lowest string is G, next one is D, next one A, and our highest one is E. This is the chin rest, where we rest our chin. This is the tailpiece. It's connected to the button. And then I have a shoulder rest that you can take off and on. When you're a beginner and you're younger, sometimes you start with a sponge because shoulder rests can be a little bit bulky, but either a shoulder rest or a sponge. These are pegs. You have 4 pegs, 1 for each string. If your violin is really out of tune, you'll use the pegs to tune it, or if you're changing a string, you'll have to use the pegs as well. If your violin is just a little bit out of tune, you use fine tuners. When you become an adult and a professional violinist, traditionally you take off these 3 fine tuners and you only have a fine tuner for the E. Reason why we use fine tuners for the E string is because if you see, it's very thin and small and it can break easily when using a peg, so you want to be careful. This is the scroll and this is the neck of the violin. You want to be extra careful with your bridge because it's not glued down. You never want to set your violin upside down, and you always want to be extra careful around the bridge area. The bridge is connected to a sound post. Sound post is a little stick inside your violin from the top to the bottom. When you play your strings, they vibrate, they go into the bridge and the sound post. It vibrates inside the hollow body of your violin and then projects from the F-holes. A great way to hold the violin is by securely holding it by the neck or tucked underneath your right arm in rest position. You don't want to touch the body of the violin too much with your fingers because we have oil on our fingers and it can ruin the varnish. And always make sure you wash your hands before you play your violin. The other part of the instrument we use is called the bow. This is the bow. This part is called the stick and it's made out of wood. This is the tip. Where we hold it down below is called the frog. This is the screw, and this is made out of horsehair. Make sure you're very careful with the horsehair and you never touch the horsehair because just like the body of the violin, you don't want to get the oils on your hands on the horsehair. If you have oil on the horsehair and you try to play, it won't make a very good sound. If you look at the shape of the bow, the modern bow, it has a slight smile to it. You want to make sure, even when your horsehair is tightened, you still have that smile. I always like to think about keeping about a pinky's width in the middle, tight. How you tighten the bow is with the screw at the bottom by the frog. When you put away the violin, you want to loosen the screw to the left until the horsehairs are loose. Just about that loose. You see how they're almost touching the wood? And then you put away your bow. When you're ready to play, you take out your bow and you want to tighten the screw to the right until the horsehair and the stick are about a pinky's width apart. If you tighten the horsehair too tight, you can stretch out the horsehair, or worse, you could actually snap your stick. So be very careful that you don't tighten it too much. If you loosen the horsehair too much, you can take the screw out of your bow. I don't recommend doing this, but you can. I'll show you so you don't have to do this. You can take the screw out and you can take the frog off. But I'm not a bow repairman, so I don't know what to do after that. Just put it back, okay? Don't do that at home, folks. You can break stuff inside there, and then you have to get a new bow. Earlier, you might have seen this brown square on my violin. This is a mute. It's an orchestra mute. Sometimes your music will say con con sordino, and that means with mute. So you would put it on your bridge. You just slide it across. There are different types. Some you like pinch across the bridge, but mine you just slide across. Without the mute, my violin sounds like this. With the mute, it gives a softer timbre, a softer sound, and a little bit more warm, fuzzy sound. There's also a much bigger type of mute. This is called a practice mute. So you wouldn't use this in orchestra. You would use this like if you live in an apartment and you have neighbors and you have quiet hours, you would use this mute, or a hotel if you're traveling. And this mute, I like this one because it's rubber on the outside, so if it does fall, it won't do much damage to your violin, but it's metal on the inside, and the metal is important because it makes it extra quiet. First, my violin with no mute. Then my violin with the orchestra mute. And then my violin with the practice mute. And you set it down right on top of your bridge and you don't have to push. And then you sound like a little buzzing bee. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any more questions about the violin, the bow, or even the mute, please comment them down below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next Monday.